In this video, I'm going to go through how to do freehand drawing. Now, obviously, for pictorial drawings, and even for isometrics, it's really handy to have a set of set squares. I strongly recommend you use set squares, but if it says that you can draw the thing freehand, and even if it doesn't, you are allowed to draw things, do all your sketches freehand, I just recommend set squares. What I'm going to start off with is I'm going to start off with something really simple. So I'm going to start off with my classic example of a brick. You will find lots of videos where I go into way more detail, but this is the level of detail that is expected for the end of Chapter 1, which happens to be the standard that is expected before the test that you might do as your first assessment task for Year 11. So if I wanted to draw a brick, well, the first thing I have to do is I have to make sure, well, I'm going to use construction lines. Right? Construction lines are thin, light lines that you use to draw shapes. Now, in another resource, I've talked about what kind of pencils you should do. So you can see I'm doing different colors. Now, theoretically, you are supposed to get a 45-degree line here. You don't have to do that as far as I'm concerned. These are my construction lines. The construction lines should be done in a sharpened 2H pencil, but I'm not going to care if you don't. What I really want is, and then for your thick dark lines should be drawn, here we go, your thick dark lines should be drawn with a mechanical pencil with 0.5 leads drawn perpendicular to the page. Now, the reality is, when I was at high school, by the end of the HSC, I was just drawing everything with a mechanical pencil with HB 0.5 leads. And if I wanted a sharpen line, I would hold it not perpendicular. When I wanted a light line, I would just draw lightly. But you know, as you can see, I've got some pretty good drawing skills, right? It's harder for me to draw slowly, but you get the idea. And then I'm going to draw some circles at the top of my brick because this brick has been extruded. Now, this line here is a bit wonky. I'm okay with wonky. What I don't like is I do not like feathering. I'm going to show you a bad example. Do not do this. This is what some kids do. I hate that. Don't do that. Now the reality is, will you lose marks for feathering? Well, let me just say I've spoken to other HSC teachers, and I think I hate it more than the average does. And in terms of exams, I'm pretty good authority that there are people who answer HSC questions in pen, right? Which is not ideal. I think it actually says in the instructions you have to use pencil. But I'm willing to say that they don't think many students lose marks because they didn't use the right kinds of pencil. Just for a piece of information. Okay, so here's what I've drawn. I've drawn the top view on top, the front view below it, and then off to the side. This is the view. If I walked around the corner, what would I see on that side? And if I was to draw another view, this would be what I'd see if I looked over that side. Right, so if this had the letter A stapled onto it, like that, right, then I would have the A stapled onto there. And if it had 3 wavy lines, what would I see here? I would say 3 vertical lines, like that. Yeah, just to give you a rough idea. Okay. Now, the next thing we should be able to draw is we should be able to draw isometric and oblique drawings. So, for isometric drawings, we start by drawing, so I'm going to start with the line that is green, with a horizontal line, right? Somewhere on the paper. Now, you don't need to draw this line. I'm just giving you this as, I've chosen a starting point. Once I've chosen a starting point, I'm then going to draw what's called the crow's foot. The crow's foot has a line 30 degrees each direction from this horizontal line. Now, how would I draw this in practice? I would use my handy-dandy set of set squares, which are purpose-built to draw these lines. Once I would draw these lines, I would then draw construction lines, as we had before. Okay, so I've gone a little bit big, but that doesn't matter. I've gone a little bit big, that doesn't matter. Then up here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get my set square. So I'm going to get my set square to draw this line. And here, I'm going to get my set square. Ah! Wrong colored pen. Okay, the angle's a little bit steeper than I would have liked, but you get the idea. Now, you never rub out construction lines. You just leave them. Now, the good advantage of isometric drawings is I can then get a circle template, or an ellipse template rather. And I could then trace out these circles. Later, I will show you how to draw these with a compass, but I would never ever draw them in the HSC anymore with a compass. When I was at school, you were kind of expected to be able to draw them with a compass. These days, I would never waste that time. Okay, the last drawing I'm going to do, you guys can go if you need to, is I'm going to draw how to do this in Oblique. So Oblique, I would just draw one face, and then I just draw all other sides like that. The problem is that it is very, very hard to draw those circles. Because those circles are on the slanted side, it's very, very hard to draw those circles.